There we go. Hello everyone, welcome to the show. I'm making a fairly brief guide on runes and masteries that I think should be used in the 2016 season of League of Legends. A lot of this is Theorycrafted because there were some very major changes in 2016, and even though the only major changes happened to masteries, I think there's actually a fair bit of fallout in the rune system as well. And so because of that, I'm going to cover both topics. First off, let's talk rune pages. Number one thing I'm going to do is the quick TLDR rune pages that I give everyone. If you don't have a lot of IP to spend, you only want 2 pages, you don't want to deal with any more of it, there's 2 big pages to make. Now the good news is, the runes in these pages are permanently 50% off in the League of Legends in-game store, so it's pretty cheap. Everyone starts with 2 pages. It's worthwhile. Page number 1 is the physical damage page. It is running attack damage marks, armor seals, magic resist glyphs, and attack damage quintessences. This works for any sort of physical damage dealer. It's really solid, works all the time. The other one is the magic damage page. You're also getting magic penetration marks. You're still using armor seals. You're still using magic resist glyphs, and now you're running ability power quintessences. This works for any magic damage champion, whether it's Janna or Soraka or a mage like Karthus. This is the generally just fine pages. But if you're like me and you're super tryhard and you're going for all 20, well, of course I have those pages for you as well. And the way I'm going to actually do runes and masteries here is I'm going to quickly describe what the goal of your rune page should be. It should help you do your major role, whether it's casting spells, dealing damage, or auto-attacking, and it should help you protect yourself, because the way runes are kind of created, essentially seals are always protection, and glyphs are almost always protection, and then you kind of branch out from there based on what you need to be doing. So, with that in mind, they're basically put into 7 sort of major buckets in terms of what class of champion you're playing, and then for most of these buckets, there's usually 2 different versions based on what type of lane you're facing. Right? Flat resists for the type of champion you're facing, and then scaling resists for the type of champions you're not facing specifically in your lane, and that's kind of how this works out. So, let's start with the fighter pages. Now, these are physical damage dealers, and these are auto-attack focused champions. These are things like Aurelia or Gnar or Darius, and so you're running these same attack damage marks. If you run a physical damage lane, you're running flat armor seals, which then means scaling magic resist glyphs, and attack speed quintessences because you actually care about the attack speed. Unsurprisingly, you have the inverse here, same marks, but now scaling health and flat magic resist for seals and glyphs, and those same attack speed quints. Page number 3, 15 attack damage. We're actually going to go, oops, actually I mean to be doing scaling magic resist here. This is the page I said for the one of the 2 pages. I'm reusing this one. If you're going to start optimizing, you probably do something like this. Scaling magic resist is just fine. The reason I'm doing this is I'm basically assuming that because I only have 20 pages, I'm not making every permutation possible. I'm basically assuming if you're playing someone like Renekton or Fiora or Gangplank, you're probably against physical damage, or at least getting auto-attacked a whole lot. Even Gangplank in the mid lane is going to get autoed a fair bit by his opponent, so flat armor, scaling MR, because again, we're basically choosing to get some scaling resistance in here, but this one's just solid for a lot of those very physical damage focused champions that don't care about armor pen or attack speed. Again, Riven, sometimes Fiora, Gangplank being the big ones here. Okay, let's move on to some physical damage casters. Now, these ones don't care about auto attacks as much, but they still care about their attack damage, but they really, really, really care about their physical damage spells. These are champions like Zed and Jace. And so you're running armor penetration marks. In a physical damage lane, you're running flat armor seals and scaling MR glyphs, as well as attack damage quintessences. Now, some people may ask, well, why aren't you running cooldown reduction? And it's because we don't know the state that CDR is going to be in with the new season. I'll get into more of that later, but essentially I'm placing the bet that magic resist is worthwhile and that CDR might not be. That might be wrong in the future, but this is what I'm going to go ahead and use for the beginning of the season. The inverse of this is the magic resist version, same armor pen marks, but now health per level seals, flat magic resist glyphs, still running attack damage quintessences. Okay, next page. Let's talk about some tanks here. We've talked about fighters, talked about physical damage casters. Let's talk about some of the tanks that we're going to be playing in a solo lane. Well, we assume if you're playing a tank, you're playing at top lane, and most top lane is a physical damage base, so we're still running those armor seals, we're still running magic resist per level glyphs, but as a champion like Malphite or Maokai or Singed, well, magic pen marks and ability power quints to round this out because we care about our magic damage, ability-based damage. What if we don't care about this? What if we don't care about our ability damage at all? Well, then we can make some concessions here. We can run armor marks instead, which then frees up seals for scaling health. At this point, we're still going to run scaling magic resist glyphs, but now we've got this really big suite of defensive tools here. But to hedge our bets a little bit and be a bit more safe here, we're running health regeneration quintessences. These are actually very, very good runes. These pretty much ensure you're going to survive your lane all the time. And this will be something like Scion. This will be something like Malphite into Dr. Mundo, where you're never going to kill the guy. So let's just go ahead and get the really easy, really strong stuff. Let me quickly turn off my sounds here and move on. So those are 7 solo lane focused champions between fighters, tanks, and casters. Let's move on to the junglers here. The junglers actually have a very special requirement, and that is always getting flat armor seals, because surviving the jungle clear and getting out at high health is one of the #1 priorities. The other thing about jungle pages is that I went and looked at a lot of professional rune pages for junglers, and even the big tanks like Gragas were running a lot of damage-focused runes, because the other really important thing, other than just getting out of the jungle with health, is clearing the jungle as fast as possible, because that helps you get out with a lot of health, but also gives you all your gold income. Because unlike in a lane where minions are going to come and die at the same rate no matter what, you're limited by your own clear speed in the jungle. So as a tank, with the fact that jungle camps do not have magic resist, and most of them actually don't even have armor anymore, you're actually running attack speed on the marks here, because this is actually just the best way to increase your damage for this slot as a tank. So attack speed marks, armor seals, and I'm placing a bet here that this is one of the very few pages I will run cooldown reduction on, because these are champions where they don't have the best AP scaling, but they really do care about their ability. So I'm running flat cooldown reduction glyphs and 1 flat cooldown reduction quintessence, which gives us 10% CDR right here. We're going to round it out with 2 ability power quints as well for 10 or 9.9 AP, and so we've got attack speed, the flat armor, and a lot of ability damage, because as a jungle tank like Gragas or Zac, I'm going to get a lot of value out of fast clear speeds and getting out there as fast as possible. Let's talk about another jungle archetype. This is mostly to do with Evelynn or Nidalee, where I'm a mage, but I do have some attack damage scaling, which both Evelynn and Nidalee have. So we're running attack damage marks, the same flat armor, and we're running a ton of flat ability power in my glyphs and in my quintessences. Now the math might work out that cooldown reduction might be a better stat for one of these runes, but for the most part, flat AP is just generally very fine, very powerful, very strong. It's going to work out for you. Another type of mage, a full AP mage. Right? If we don't scale off attack damage in any meaningful way at all, we're playing Fiddlesticks or Karma or Brand or Karthus in the jungle, then screw it, we're going to run magic penetration in the marks here, because we will eventually be dealing damage to champions out of the jungle, and even though this doesn't help your clear speed, it's worth it to run magic pen because it's such a strong rune overall, but still running flat armor, still running flat AP in both of these spots. Now, before we move on to the next role, what about all the attack damage junglers, right? We did tanks, we did mages. What about Lee Sin? What about, Jarvan? What about Master Yi? Well, thankfully, these guys can use the other pages. If you're playing Master Yi, well, you can run a flat armor, attack speed, and attack damage rune page. If you're playing Lee Sin, you can run a flat armor, 15 AD rune page. And again, I'm still not sure if we're going to be running cooldown reduction very much in League of Legends, so I'm not running CDR on a lot of my jungle pages because I'm not sure it's going to be correct in the new season. We'll see as time goes on, but you can kind of go back to some of these old pages to play some of the physical damage junglers. Let's move on to the mid lane pages. Now, there are actually 5 permutations here. For every magic damage offensive laner in the game, I think it's pretty fair because they all have the same needs here. Magic penetration marks down the line, always worthwhile. Ability power quints down the line, always worthwhile. And now what we're betting on is what lane we're against and what else we synergize on. Most mages care about cooldowns, and cooldowns per level is the best way of getting this in the mid lane or even the top lane. If you're playing someone like, top lane Karma or top lane Lulu would be doing this kind of thing. Also, the general hedge bet for your seal, for the defensive talent, is just health per level. It works against everything. The math works out. This is just fine in all cases. It's a good amount of stats, a good amount of HP. It's just a very strong seal to have. And so, hey, CDR per level, health per level rounds out the rune page really nicely. Well, what if I don't actually scale off cooldowns, right? What if I'm playing Rumble or Cassiopeia or something where I really don't need CDR? Well, still running the magic pen, still the health per level, still the AP quints, but let's go with AP per level glyphs here. If you don't have a lot of room for the pages, you can just run flat AP here, and that's fine. We were running that earlier in one of our other pages and whatnot. We already had this rune with the jungle full AP page, but in the solo lane, we're probably running health per level. Okay, what if I'm really afraid of my lane opponent? Actually, I skipped one. No, I didn't. Oh yeah, sorry. This is one that I was redoing before. All right, again, if you have the room to make all of your pages, you can run health per level over here on the seals. We'll rename this real quick. And this is, I'm really afraid of LeBlanc, or I'm really afraid of a very aggressive Annie lane or something. Still the magic pen, still the health per level, but we're running magic resist flat glyphs and these same AP quints because we're just trying to not die to the lane. If you think you need it, you make this page. Okay, what if I'm afraid of Zed? What if I'm afraid of, physical damage in my lane? Well, we go the other way with it. Still magic pen, still AP, still CDR per level because we assume we need this. Flat armor in the seals if you're really afraid of the physical damage lane. If you're still afraid of physical damage and you don't run off CDR, magic pen, flat armor, AP per level in the glyphs, and that same ability power quintessence, right? These are just permutations of this page. Okay, let's move forward again. Let's talk about what Marksman are going to be doing down in the bottom lane. Because here's the thing, is normally you want scaling runes in the defensive talents if you can help it, because if you're on a solo lane and you level up and you scale, then you just get more stats, and you're not going to be level 6 for very long. But in a duo lane, as a marksman, you're not leveling up as fast, and so more of the laning phase is actually being spent lower level. And because there's two opponents there, there's usually a physical damage dealer in the AD carry and a magic damage dealer in the support. And this can cross over sometimes, but basically what we're doing here as a marksman is running flat resist for armor and flat resist for magic resist. This is kind of how it works. It's what's just most optimal in this role. We're running attack damage marks and attack speed quintessences as just the generally strong marksman-focused runes. Flat AD, very worthwhile for last hitting, and attack speed just is the best quint in the game if you auto-attack a lot. This is, of course, very similar to this rune page, but once again, we want the flat stats to survive the laning phase. Flat MR is here. Now, if we don't care about attack speed, like we're playing Graves, for example, then we shift things around a little bit. We're still running flat stats because we expect to be in a duo lane where we need the stats early on in the game, but we're running armor penetration marks and attack damage quintessences. Once again, this is very similar to one of these other armor pen pages like over here. We're running flat MR instead of scaling, or flat armor instead of scaling health. But again, we're basically making the bet that we're against both types of damage and we don't level up very fast. Let's move on to the support pages. I only made 3. This will cover most of your bases. It's not perfect, but it's going to do a pretty good job for you. Type number 1 is a bully, is a lane bully, like Brand, like Vel'Koz, like Zyra. All you care about is going right away, getting all of your power out there, so it's flat stats everywhere. Magic penetration marks, ability power quints, ability power glyphs. And the actual best rune to run for seals for very early game defense is actually flat health. Now, if you don't have the rune, if you don't care enough, you can just simply run basically this rune page, which is flat armor instead of flat health. Otherwise, it's the exact same. But this is actually optimal for level 1 defensive stats. And it's just, I don't want to die at level 1 or 2. I want to do a lot of damage at level 1 or 2. I don't want to wait to scale up. And especially as a support, you should not be running scaling runes at all. You are the slowest leveling class of all of them in the game. There's no point for scaling runes at all on support. Flat stats down the line, and health is actually the optimal one in the seals if you can afford to get the page for it. Another type of support, an enchanter support. This is someone who still scales off ability power and their ability usage, but they're there for buffing. Soraka is kind of like this. Janna and Nami are like this. Karma can be like this, but you're very often trying to bully people out as well. Either way, an enchanter support is actually running an underappreciated rune in a flat armor mark. You're not really dealing damage. You don't need attack damage or attack speed or armor pen or magic pen. Just get a defensive stat in there. This allows you to have the armor to run flat health and be more durable. Here's 72 HP from this. And then I'm basically making the bet that in this specific class, because they're going to be going deep into the cunning tree and getting that bonus CDR cap, that they're probably going to look for CDR, a 40 or 45 CDR build. And so I am going to be running CDR glyphs and 1 CDR quint. This will give me 10 cooldown reduction at the start of the game, and then 2 ability power glyphs, 2 ability power quintessences as I was going to be running otherwise as a sort of mage type champion in the support role. I think it's a very strong page. And then finally, if you're just a simple tank, you're going to be running a page like this. Flat armor marks, flat health seals, again just optimal early game tankiness, flat magic resist glyphs, and now a lot of pros into the 2015 season were running cooldown reduction here, but the basic thought is you have to invest so many runes in getting a bunch of CDR early on as a tank. I don't think you can get away with it, so we're running magic resist here, and then health regeneration quintessences are coming out here. Health regen quints, very, very strong as a melee champion in a dual lane. You will be taking a lot of harass, and you've got to be able to withstand that, and so health regeneration quints are going to be the thing here. Okay, there's the runes. That's what I think is going to be used. Those are the 20 pages. There's, of course, a lot of very similar ones. If you want to combine pages, you can run flat MR and flat armor together. You can combine a lot of these, like these pages running flat health. They could be running flat armor, and you can just simply reuse one of your jungle pages or something like that. There are some similar pages out there, but this is, to me, the right number of permutations. I'm also not doing really any champion-specific pages, like a Hecarim page or a top lane Kennen page. If you play a specific role, you can cut some of these pages out and make your champion-specific pages, but for anyone who's going to be looking to fill or playing blind pick games and have to play any champion in the game, I think these are the 20 to make. All right, that's runes. Now let's talk about masteries.